Aye.
It's halfway through the year. The year's half over. The sand keeps falling. We're all getting older. Let's talk about video games. Game of the year will be happening 6 months from now, or maybe 5. I don't know. I forget how that works. Start of December, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We got a bunch of games coming out between now and then. We'll talk about that later. But I thought it'd be fun and entertaining since we have the reviews editor at GameSpot.com here, and also this guy, Mike, who reviews games.
An editor who reviews games.
To talk about some of the games that came out earlier in the year and sort of gauge where we are with, Game of the Year contenders.
Yeah.
And whatnot. So
I was looking at the list you shared.
You did. What did you think of the list?
There's
did I miss
questionable
anything?
entries in there.
What? Yes, perhaps intentionally.
Oh, okay.
So let's get right down to it. First of all, a game we gave 10 out of 10. Uncharted 4.
Yeah.
The fourth Uncharted game. Who reviewed this bad boy?
Oh, that was me.
Oh, it was you, Michael.
Yeah.
All right. One of the best games of 2016?
Yeah, so far. I like it a lot. I don't know. I think the main thing I love about it is how everything about it coalesces to create this like really cohesive, amazing experience between the writing and the dialogue and the characters. The gameplay itself, I think, was great, but I think what makes it so good is that it goes back and corrects a lot of the mistakes that the trilogy made that made it kind of such a renowned series, I guess, and problems I had with the series going through it. I think 4 actually not only addressed problems it had gameplay-wise, mechanically, and thematically, but it also looked at like Nathan Drake himself, and it was actually one of the more interesting, I don't know, this sounds way too academic, but like character studies. But it's it was also just the spectacle of everything, like that chase scene in Madagascar through the marketplace and then through the mud. The beginning, the opening boat sequence, which some people had mixed feelings about. I think that actually worked well as kind of that intermediate rest thing.
The ending.
The ending was
tremendous.
Was great.
The final 2 hours.
Oh yeah, it's it also just it kind of sets up the first 3 games in a way. If you like haven't played any of the games, I would just say play 4 and then go back. In a weird way, it kind of sets it up as like these legends that they talk about. But
totally, I as somebody who barely I played 2 and I played half of 3.
Yeah.
So I wasn't like deep in it, and I thought it did a great job of filling in all those gaps.
Yeah, and just like it's gorgeous, which isn't like usually my main takeaway from games, but it really is. I think just it doesn't have any weak aspects to it, in my opinion, at all. The few points where I actually was kind of felt like it was dragging, it was actually still kind of integral. Like these characters would have these incidental conversations that became pretty integral later on, and which I didn't expect. And how the relationships play out, I think, is actually really satisfying. As a fan of the series, I think they tied it off really well. I could not have asked for a better finale. But also, just like I think Naughty Dog did a lot of things better here than they did with The Last of Us, which previously I thought was their best game.
Yeah, totally. For one of the best action games I've ever, just in terms of the combat and how controlled and movement within the arenas and stuff was so much fun. Peter, let's talk about another game which has great movement and great shooting, which you reviewed much more recently, Doom.
Yeah.
What a pleasant surprise that one was.
Dude, I did not see Doom coming.
They're not sending out early review copies, man. Must be a piece of trash.
That was one
Pete?
discussion.
No, that was not Pete. While all that was going on, he was playing it at his desk, and I went over and was like, how's Doom? And you were like, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
His eyes are bleeding. It's good.
Dude, the E3 demo they showed off when the game was announced, did not leave me interested at all in the game. At all. I thought, I will not care about this. Doom is over as far as I'm concerned. And now I feel like Doom has a better future than it probably ever had. The game is just, it's such a pure experience that just gets your heart racing. And and it's spectacular to look at as well. Some of the environments, although I wish they were more varied, some of the stuff that's in there, especially in Hell, is just like really wonderful set pieces.
Yeah.
A definite surprise.
Yeah, I never thought that we'd be talking about Doom in July and saying it's like a genuine game of the year contender. It's
absolutely
one of the best. It was one of these things where 10 minutes in, I was like, all right, you guys know what you're doing already, because that intro chapter was very self-aware about the weight that comes with Doom, and the fact that they were so self-aware and so light on the playing up the sort of lore aspect of the game, and then also being don't worry, it's not Doom 3, we're not going to spend 30 minutes setting this up before you shoot somebody, he pushes the screen away. And as the more I played, the more I was I was so reticent to believe that this was good. I was like, this can't be good. It's nothing about.
Or is my taste off?
Yeah, totally.
Is my interpretation of this just weird?
Is this nostalgia? Expectations so low that now a game that's actually mediocre, I'm enjoying.
Right.
But it's fucking great. Like it's so like up until the final boss fight, and I'm so burnt out on first person shooters. Up until the final boss fight, like, and that was amazing. And I literally was like, I'm gonna play you again in a couple of weeks. Like,
Yeah, and I'm super stoked to see that they've added the whole the weapon positioning, like
So
in the
good.
shot where it just sticks the gun right in the middle. That's definitely nostalgia playing
Yeah.
a trick on me, but I love that. I really want to see what they're doing for DLC. I hope there's some coming. The multiplayer stuff I don't really care about. Snap Map is kind of interesting, but it's even with the sorted list based on popularity, it's hard to really figure out what the great Snap Map stuff is, the user created stuff.
yeah.
But man, if they can do some cool stuff with DLC, like I will be playing that game again. And it's when you think about game of the year, right? Games like Uncharted, games like Doom and like I guess Overwatch, which we'll probably talk about soon, I assume, is people have the same positive opinion. There's very few dissenters or
Yes.
outliers when it comes to how they feel about it. But when you talk about a game like Uncharted, yeah, it got a 10, but a lot of people are like, nah, it's a great game, but it's just not that for me.
Yeah.
So I feel like Doom is one of the stronger contenders. for sure.
Let's talk about Overwatch actually.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah, who reviewed this? Mike again. All right,
Yeah.
this is working out pretty good. You enjoyed Overwatch. I mean, the whole office enjoys Overwatch. We've been playing the shit out of it.
Yeah. No, it's, I mean, for a lot of the same reasons. I mean, like, not to linger on Doom too long. Doom is like right up there with Rocket League and like Resogun, and that they are it's one of the best feeling games I've played in
Right.
like so long. Overwatch, the same thing. You mean the game is different for everyone, almost like kind of different than Doom. It's everyone who jumps into it. Yeah, it's pretty universally positive, I would say. But you jump in as Genji, and it's a different game than if you're playing as Zarya, who my favorite character is. If you jump in as Lucio, you're looking at the game itself and through a whole different lens. You're
Yeah.
looking at it through a different scope. There's different scale to the fights because you want to keep different distances based on different characters. It's like this amalgamation of like all these shooter tropes, but you want to say it's like the kitchen sink approach. They went for everything. They did, but it all works in this game somehow. It's like they managed to take like these universal archetypes from shooters across the genre and across like the decades pretty much. Like they took, there's like, you got like Pharah, who's very much like a Quake kind of like arena style shooter character. Then you have McCree, who's much more precise, and you have, Widowmaker is a Counter-Strike-ish character. And it's somehow these all coalesce into this one like I said, cohesive kind of really good feeling and very dynamic experience. I don't know, it's every time I jump into a match, it's somehow still different. And I've been playing it for how many months now, and I don't see myself slowing down too much.
Yeah, like Doom is the best campaign I've played in years. Overwatch is the best online shooter I've played in donkey's years as well. What do you think about it,
Donkey's
Peter?
years.
Donkey's years.
I still can't. You think
Sure,
that you
I'll
use
let it
that
pass.
phrase differently every time?
I haven't played much Overwatch yet. I really can't talk about it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks, Peter.
I wish I could. Sorry.
I mean, we've talked about Overwatch enough here on
I know.
GameSpot.com.
I feel like it's
21
one
videos.
gap that doesn't really need to be filled. But I need to play that game though. Like there's
All
no
right,
question.
Let's fill a different gap then. Actually,
Get your mind out of the gutter.
one that you wanted to talk
I
about.
didn't say it.
I can give you. I'll pass on you if you're going to start laughing.
Okay.
XCOM 2.
Oh,
Came out
I'll talk about this one.
February 5th.
Who reviewed that?
Overlooked. Who reviewed it? Just fucking review. Do you review everything?
No,
I
it's,
review a lot of stuff.
I just really liked Enemy Unknown, so I volunteered
Yeah.
for this one.
XCOM 2 is kind of overlooked.
I think so, and you'd like to say maybe it's because it's not on like consoles, but there's obviously PC crowd is nothing to.
I mean,
scoff
apparently the
at.
first one didn't sell well on consoles, which
Right.
is why they went for PC only this time around. Well,
I mean,
No, it's coming to console.
it's coming to consoles now.
it is now, which actually gives me some hope that maybe it'll tap into a new crowd that previously overlooked it.
Yeah.
But I mean, like they said from the beginning, they're creating. The game would not exist as is now if they didn't just focus completely on PC.
Right.
I mean, it feels great. It's everything I want from a sequel. This is my main takeaway from it. It took the depth and the creativity of the first XCOM and just kind of that blend of the overarching strategy of like scientific research and base building, and then somehow still taps into that turn-based tactical combat that you think about when you think of this game. Just between how the different classes interact, the odds are stacked against you the entire time, but yet as soon as I failed a campaign or got to the point where I was like, this is hopeless, and a lot of times you have to do that. You go back and you start a new campaign, and it's different enough each time that you still feel like you're making progress even when things are like just really shitty.
Yeah.
I mean, and then there's a new DLC out now, or I think it's out. I played it, I don't know, recently for a preview. Shen's Last Gift. It adds like these robots, which are essentially like a new class. So you have like the 6 classes now that you can play as, and I'm assuming the console will come with those classes. I'm not positive, but between like the map design, like how, despite the fact that you might know you're probably going to lose, it's still fun as hell from like campaign to campaign.
Yeah, super fun game. Really enjoyed it. I just checked Steam to see if it was in the sales, but it's not at the moment, so it's still $60. But worth every penny. Still think. Let's jump through a couple of these ones. Dark Souls 3. Who wants to talk about that?
I don't know who reviewed it.
I got a lot of hate for this review too. I gave it an 8. I thought it was a
What
great
review
game.
doesn't
I don't know.
bring hate?
That's true, I guess.
You're saying the Dark Souls fans are unreasonably passionate? No.
Yeah. I used to count myself among them. I still do. But I was reviewing the game,
Yeah.
it still will probably be in my top 5 at the end of the year. I mean, even looking ahead.
Oh, Steam sales are over actually right now. Sorry, my bad. Did not realize that. Yeah, but still a fine game.
Yeah, I mean, my main takeaway, maybe not my main takeaway, but in terms of negatives, I feel like they really got tired toward the end of it. Like this is Miyazaki wasn't completely attached to Dark Souls 2, and a lot of people look at that as the weak entry in the series.
Right, yeah.
I still like Dark Souls 1 the most, and then probably Demon Souls, and then 3. So 3 is still a great game, I think, just in comparison to what you've seen From Software do before. The bosses in this, a lot of times were you would fight a boss later on that felt recycled. You're like, okay, the old king is pretty much just someone I fought earlier on.
Yes.
And then you fight Champion Gundyr. It's Iodex Gundyr, obviously that's the whole point, but it was still like the moment to moment, the level design, like the way it's like the verticality of it folds in on itself, and you still like discovering a shortcut is just as rewarding as empowering as killing a boss. And no matter how, like we were talking about Fury earlier, which is like a lot of boss fights and a lot of frustration, but at the same time, Dark Souls 3 is very Dark Souls-esque. No, it's despite the fact that you're losing to these bosses time and time again, it's satisfying moment to moment, and like you feel you're rewarded. Like despite the fact that you might be fighting recycled bosses later, it's still such an empowering experience to really feel like you came out of that game like more skilled than you went in, like by far.
Certainly a contender. I was flicking through some of the games here, checking our reviews to see if all of them were reviewed by Mike. The next 2 I looked up were both reviewed by Mike. So I'm actually going to jump to one that I know you reviewed, Peter.
Don't worry about it. It's all good.
March 10th. You guess what it was?
I didn't review the game March 10th. It was Hitman.
Yes, it was.
Yes, and that was the first episode I reviewed.
Yes.
Yes.
What do you think of Hitman? Have you played the subsequent episodes?
I played up until episode 3. I've only reviewed the first 2 episodes. I'm going to wait until the full game comes out and review that.
Yeah.
Because when I played episode 3, I beat it in less than an hour.
Right.
And now Hitman is a game that you can go back in and you can mix up the way you complete
Endlessly
a mission.
replayable, Peter.
Right. But it's, in my opinion, it's not good enough to inspire that kind of repetition.
Right.
Specifically the 3rd episode, just to give you an example of how cut and dry this game can be. Like, I was in Marrakesh, this bustling city that's got a huge market. There's a huge protest going on. There's all these military everywhere. And you think, oh man, it's going to be really hard for me to accomplish my goal. So I'm surveying the area. I walk down the street. Some girl is talking to some guy, and there's a little icon above their head that says, hey, you should pay attention to this. So I listen, and he's like, oh yeah, my dad's like got the key to the city or whatever, but he's all retired, but he's still upstairs, I guess. So I'm like, okay. So I walk between them, go upstairs. The dad is sitting by himself, so I just murder him, take the key, go downstairs, find a military guy who's sort of out of it, and I take his uniform.
Yeah.
So then I decide, okay, I'm going to walk into the military complex, walk right through the protests into the military thing. Essentially, I overhear another thing where it's like, oh, this guy's getting a massage in about half hour. I'm like, oh, that's my target. Okay. So I find the masseuse, knock him out, take his shirt, find the guy, give him a massage, choke him out, and I leave.
You gave him a massage?
Wait, you still gave him the massage?
Well, yeah. I'm not unfair.
You're not an animal.
Just relax him before you slit his throat.
Part of the job.
Oh, you're so tight.
Yeah. Anyway, and so there are multiple ways I could have gone about that. Many ways that are more difficult and challenging.
Yeah.
But why would I? Like,
I mean, that's the whole thing, right? Is that like there are so many ways of doing this, and like then they have all the different challenges, which like take control away from you or give you more restrictions.
And Hitman is not a game that is inherently fun to play. It is meant to be a mentally challenging game. So when you have these solutions handed to you, going back to do something that isn't fun when there are lots of other games out there waiting for your attention, it just doesn't. It's not really a thing that is inspiring to want to do that.
It's been interesting. I feel like the chapter-based like release of this has benefited it because I'm not getting burned out on it as fast as I think I would if there was just like a full game. I probably would have played half and then been like, and stopped. So that's been interesting, but yeah, we'll have to see. Looking forward to the review later this year of the full project. Let's burn through a couple of these because we're running a bit long.
Yeah.
Mike Mahardy, you reviewed some games. Far Cry Primal, what you think of it?
It surprised me. I like how much it makes use of its setting. I think being like a prehistoric, or not prehistoric, kind of like Stone Age setting, they could have easily had like, oh, there's machine gun slingshot, but no, they stuck to it. You were like spears, bow and arrow. If you play it on the new survival mode, it's actually makes like, it's really tense the entire time through. When sun falls, like the predators come out.
Yeah.
It's one of the better uses of like a setting. It's not realistic at all, but I really like when I think of games that kind of took these aesthetics and took these tropes of that time and made good use of it for fun gameplay. I think Far Cry Primal is like a standout.
Super surprised by how fun it was and how not a reskin it was. Like, it's still got all the Ubisoft sort of tropes, but it's really good fun. The Witness, you also reviewed that, right?
Yeah, that one, that was one of the more challenging games I've played. I know a lot of people didn't have as hard a time with it, but well, I mean, it's a challenging game, I think, universally, but the way that it communicates its ideas to you so subtly, it doesn't hold your hand at all. You just go, you're on this island, you go explore. You can, if you want to go right to like, there is a last puzzle, but you need to like activate these lasers around the island. You can go to some of the more difficult puzzles, and if you know how to do it, it's like I don't know. If you spend like 3 weeks reading a textbook, you're gonna know something about like basic chemistry.
Yeah.
But if you just try to take a test right at the beginning of like the semester before you read a book, you're not going to be able to do it. But this
not to be too academic or anything.
Yeah, it sounds like such a I don't know. The way this game teaches you its ideas, like in such a way that you actually learn its systems and how like they interact, is so good. It's the puzzles themselves. You seem like, how can you just have these mazes and move these dots around a maze? How can that be a whole game?
Yeah.
But then the people have played it like, oh my god, I know what this square means. It's like burning my head that you have to separate these from those, and like this shape means you have to like fail this on purpose.
It's really crazy. I've still not completed it. I feel like I'm about 75% of the way through, and I'm terrified now that I've lost the knowledge on it.
But at the same time, you could go back to a puzzle. There's a chance you can go back to a puzzle that was killing you for days, and you'd solve it right now.
God, I need to jump back. Gorgeous looking game. Peter Brown, you reviewed Street Fighter V earlier this year. Obviously, they promised a lot of fixes and updates throughout the rest of the year. Is there anything about what they've done so far that makes you feel like SF5 is in a better place than it was?
No, I don't think so. I think the game has a really strong core in terms of like a fighting system. I know that there's some people who have some misgivings based on what was changed from Street Fighter 4, but really it's a very sound fighting game. The problem with the model that they've adopted is one that is, we're sort of going to give you little appetizers like along the way, and the full course will be available, after a certain amount of time. But it's just the way that they've handled this game is a problem. But beyond that, the game itself is so easy to walk away from. It doesn't have that infectious spirit that a lot of past Street Fighter games had, because there's just so little to it. And the modes that they have put in there, outside of just online competitive matches, are really poorly done. So it's a great game that just wasn't given the treatment it deserved.
We got a couple more games here. I want to cut away from the gameplay. We'll put our hands out. We'll do the thing we did at E3 with like thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs middle, and then put your hand down if you haven't played it, okay?
All
right, so put your hands out. First game that comes through is Firewatch.
Actually, I didn't play that.
You didn't play that?
No.
Down?
In terms of a game of the year contender?
Yeah.
I didn't like it as much.
No?
No.
I thought it was all right. Okay. Yeah, I guess. Super Hot.
Oh. Well, actually, Game of the Year contender?
Okay, maybe not Game of the Year contender.
God,
just like
good.
good.
Really good.
Just good.
Just good. Yeah.
Yeah?
I'll give it a good.
Yeah. I feel like
I think I did give it a good.
Yeah.
Like a literal.
You reviewed it? Oh, really? Inside.
So played it.
Okay. Play Inside. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Quantum Break.
Unless you count the 2 live streams, I didn't play it.
No. I don't. Well, yeah. Not a fan of Quantum Break. Me and Peter are sticking to our guns. I'm with you, bro. I don't know what the rest of the internet was smoking that week. Unravel. None of us played it.
No.
All right. Okay. Fair enough. And I think that's everything I've got written down here. Is there anything you guys were thinking of that I haven't touched?
I would like to mention Off-World Trading Company.
Okay.
It's kind of
That
a
is
niche.
not what he was going to say.
No, it's kind of a niche game, right? It's RTS, but there's no like military. There's no combat involved. It's all economics. It's as if you took like the economics from a game like Civilization, or I mean, like even if you took it from StarCraft and blew it up and made it much more complicated in a really fun way. And there's always something to be doing, worrying about how this resource is going to affect your stock price, and you're trying to buy out the enemy.
It just sounds like Monopoly.
Sounds like Drug Wars.
It's both of those, I guess. If you
Yeah.
when Monopoly meets Drug Wars, you get Off-World Trading Company. So try to check that out. Even if you're not an RTS fan, there's a few people in the office that we played it, and I mean, I think a few of them were pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. All right. What do you think, Peter?
Hyperlight Drifter.
All right.
A game I still need to play more of, but the hour or so I did play was amazing, and it's got amazing reviews as well. So I feel like more people should play that.
What about Mighty Number 9?
Don't do that. That game is okay.
All right.
That's all there is to it.
Apparently, I read something over the weekend about the Kickstarter sort of total for video games this year is pretty down on previous
but
years.
board games apparently are super, super up.
Cool.
Yeah.
They're back.
Yeah.
Justin Hayward got some sort of bejeweled board game today. I don't know who the fuck thought that was a good idea.
He just gave it to me when I was
Yeah.
talking to him. He kept like someone's
Great.
holding something to her. You're wondering why they're doing that. I don't want that.
Terrible. Well, those are our picks so far for Game of the Year 2016. Let us know what you think should win so far in the comments below.